Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Charles Peace. In today's video, I will show you how to make a beautiful off-shoulder A-line dress with tail. So guys, if you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe. Click on the bell icon to be notified anytime I upload a new video. Give it a thumbs up, share to your friends. So guys, this is a full detail course to achieve a beautiful off-shoulder A-line dress with tail. Make sure you watch it to the end. So guys, let's get started. The items I need the lace fabric, I need a bridal satin, a zipper, I'm using a stone zipper, a matching thread, and a padded foam for it. Now the first thing I'll do, I'll be cutting on my bridal satin first before I now cut on my lace fabric. For the length of the top, I'm using half length, which is 17 inches. Now, my bust measurement is 38 inches divided into 4 will give me 9.5 inches. To determine the wideness of my folding, I added extra 4 inches allowance, or you can make it 4.5. So this folding is okay for me. So I'll go ahead to mark my measurement. Now it's an off-shoulder top. If I remove 4 inches, now I will mark my half length here, which is 17 inches. By the time I remove 4 inches, this is my main measurement now. I'm using 4 inches so that by the time I turn it with lining and all that, I will end up with 4.5 inches. If I cut exactly 4.5 inches, I will end up after sewing having 5 inches. So I'm making it 4 inches so that by the time I finish folding, I will have 4.5 inches as my off shoulder. So now I will use this place as my main shoulder line so that you will not get confused. Now my shoulder measurement is 8 inches and I added extra half inch, making it 8.5 inches. I'll go ahead and mark 8.5 inches. For my armhole length, I will mark 9 inches. Now, from my armhole, I will mark another 2.5 inches to determine my bust point. That is, my bust point is 11.5 inches. This is where I will now place my bust measurement. Now my bust measurement is 38 divided into 4 will give me 9.5 inches. This is 9.5 inches, and I'll add extra 4.5 inches here. My waist measurement is 34 inches divided into 4 will give me 8.5 inches, and I'll add extra 4 inches allowance. I will join it to this point. Now for my armhole, from this point I will mark 1.5 inches and curve it from this part. From this 9 inches, I will divide it into 2. If I divide it into 2, it will give me here 4.5. From here, I will remove half inch. That is from my front side. So I'll then go ahead and curve it from this point to this point. Now, my bust to bust measurement is 7 inches. Divided into 2 will give me 3.5, and I add extra half inch, making it 4 inches. So I'll mark 4 inches from this point to this point, and at this point I will extend it to this upper part as well, but while I'm cutting, I'll cut from this. Then I'll join the lines together. From my half length here, I'll remove half inch here and half inch here. Now from my underbust is 13.5 inches, which is here. Then from this underbust, I will remove 1.5 inches here and 1.5 inches here, making it 3 inches. So I will join this point to this point and this point. Now at this underbust, at the armhole side, I mark 1.5 inches. At the center part, I will mark only 1 inch. I'll join it to the half length. Then at this underbust, I will mark 2.5 inches up here. Then from this point, this is the upper side, I'll remove half inch at the right side, and at this side I will remove half inch as well. So I'll join this half inch, making it 1 inch. I'll join it to this point. So for my neckline, I want it to be a sweetheart neckline. I'll go down by 1 inch here. This 1 inch, I'll curve it like so. Then from here, I will extend it to this part. Remember, this is my armhole. Then at this point, now I will cut it out. Altogether, here I'm having 2.5. Altogether here I'm having 1.5, because I remove 1 inch by the right side, which is the armhole side, and remove half inch. I removed half inch at this center front. So I'm having 1.5 here and I'm having 2.5 here. So I'll go ahead and cut it out. Now for this point, remember I'll go ahead and cut out the center front first. Now after cutting it, I want to confirm my measurements. My bust measurement, 38 divided by 4 will give me 9.5. So this is 9.5, yeah, and I'm having extra 2 inches allowance. Then for the waist measurement is 34 inches divided in 4 will give me 8.5, and I'm having extra 1.5 inches. So I'm okay with it. I'll go ahead and cut it out. Then I'll put a notch at this bust point. I'll place it together with the front side and put a notch. Now this is for the back. I measured 17 inches, removing 4 inches. Remember, the main half length is 16.5, then I added extra half inch for the joining. Now I remove 4 inches off. Then for the zip allowance, I will go ahead and mark 1.5 first. Then I'm marking 4 inches for the darts. I'll go ahead and join the lines together. From my bust point, which is 11.5 here, I'll minus half inch from the half length, half inch at the right and half inch at the left. Then I will join it to this bust point to create my dart. Now from this bust point, my bust measurement is 38 divided into 4 will give me 9.5 here, and I'll add extra 2 inches. From the underbust, my waistline is 34 inches divided into 4 will give me 8.5. I'm taking my measurement from this line, not from the edge. Remember, this is zip allowance. So 8.5 plus 2 inches. Then I'll place this to get my, I don't want it to be different from, so I'll place it like so to cut out my armhole. Then at this neckline, I will remove 1 inch. I'll curve it straight to this point. I'll open it up. I'll go ahead and cut. I'll put a notch at this point, which is the zip allowance. I'll put a notch at this point as well. I'll place it on my main fabric to cut. The first one I'm cutting is the center front. This is the center front. Now this is the two sides. I'm cutting both of them together. I folded my fabric into two, then I'm cutting it now. Now I've cut out the center front and the two sides. So I'll go ahead and cut the back. This for the back, I'm cutting it one by one. I've cut for this one. I'll go ahead and cut the second one. Now I'll place my second one. So you face it like so. The right side of the satin fabric to face the wrong side of the main lace fabric. If you put it on the other way, it will give you wrong cutting. You end up having the same shape. So guys, after cutting, this is how it looks. Make sure while cutting it, you face your fabric. If you are cutting it one, unless you fold it together to cut before you place the main one you use and cut. So what you will do is to face the right side of your lace fabric. The right side should face down, and the right side of your bridal satin should face on the wrong side of your lace fabric, unless you are cutting it together. But if you are cutting it one, you should face it like so and pick each one to cut. Don't use one to cut two, because you can mistakenly cut one the same shape. When you cut it the same shape, remember, when you face it at the right side, your lace fabric will face on the right side. When you face it up, it should face the right side, should face at the back of your lace fabric. If you did not do it like so, when you cut it, you end up one will be at the wrong side of this place. Instead of being at the right side, it will end up like so. You have to recut it again. So when you are cutting it, always observe it and be careful. So we are through cutting both the front side and the back side. So let me place it so that you can see what we achieved. This for the back. Remember, we are having 1.5, or you can make your own 2 inches depending on how you want it. If you want to have enough allowance for your zipper, you can go ahead and add 2 inches. By the time I fold my zipper allowance, this is what I'll be having. So I've already notched it. So this is for the back and this is for the front. This is my center front. This is the 2 armhole side and this is the center front. So the next thing I'll be cutting now will be my breast pad for this front side. So I'll use my pin to hold it before I cut the breast pad and the lining. I'll go ahead and hold it with my pin. I'm using office pin to hold it. Now I've used my pin to hold it. I'll then cut out the foam. I'll place it like so. The foam stops at the half cut. I'll make sure that the foam stops at the underbust. Then I'll cut it out. Then I'll place the second, that is the 2 sides. Now to determine the wideness of the 2 sides, the width of your bust here for the side, measure from your bust point to the side where your bust stops. So I'm using 5 inches. Then I'll curve it down from this point to this point. Then I'll cut it out. Now I'll place it to cut out the second one. I'll turn it over. This is for the 2 sides. Now after cutting, this is how it looks. I'll place it to cut my lining. Then I'll show you the next thing to do. So I'll go ahead and place my lining and cut for the front side and for the back 2 pieces. Now I've cut out all the lining for the top. I'll put it aside. I'll be cutting on the bridal satin first before the lace fabric. Now the length of the skirt is 43 inches plus 1 inch, making it 44 inches. I've already marked 44 inches. Now for my waist measurement is 34 inches divided by 4 will give me 8.5 inches. This 8.5 inches here, because it's an A line, I added extra 3 inches. My hip, to mark my hip, I will mark 8.5 inches here. My hip measurement is 41 inches divided by 4 will give me 10.2 inches. This 10.2 inches here. Then I added extra 3 inches as well. I will join it to this waist measurement. My nail is 22 inches from my waistline, but I'm not going to cut exactly 22 inches, but I will minus 2 inches from it, making it 20 inches. Now, my hip measurement here that I use is 13.5 inches. I will remove 2.5 inches from it. If I remove 2.5 inches, it will be 11.5 inches. Now my hip measurement I place here is 13.5 inches. So for my nail, I'll minus 1.5 inches. That is 13.5 minus 1.5 will give me 12 inches. So I'll mark 12 inches here. I will join it to this side. Then I'll shift it up. Here is 18 inches. So I will take this mark to this one because it's a line. From this line, I will now join it to the knee side. At this point, I will cut it out. This is for the front. I'll use it to cut the back. Now I want to cut the back. Before then, I will notch this point of my hip line. I will notch it first. As well, I will notch the new part. Remember I say it has a tail. So I will place it, this is the front part. This front part, I will place it on my fabric to cut the back piece. It's going to have a zipper. So I will use 2.5 here as my zip allowance. I'm using 2.5. Now for the down part, I will add extra 10 inches. This is the normal length here. Then I will add extra 10 inches to it. Okay. This extra 10 inches. So I'll cut extra 10 inches to make the tail. So I'll go ahead and cut out the skirt from the normal shape of the first one. Then extend it. From this down part, I'm going to curve it to this point. So it will not be straight. I'll just curve it like so to make a tail. So now let's cut. I'll start from the upper part. Now for this down part, then I'll go ahead and open it up. Now I will notch, make sure I notch the back part as well. Now I'll place it on my fabric, the main lace fabric, to cut. I'm cutting the front part first, so I'll go ahead and cut it out. So this is by the time I place it on my bridal satin. Now I've placed my back piece. I took only one. Remember, the length of the fabric I'm working with is 45 inches, while this length is 44 plus 10 inches. That is 54 inches. So I need extra inches to join. So I'll be joining it, and already for the first one I cut, I removed the head like so. So I'm going to cut out this part and then cut out the length of the fabric I'm working with is 45 inches, while the length of this back piece is 54 inches. So I'll go ahead and cut out the length, then join it at the down part. Now you can see by the time I cut it, the fabric did not reach to the tail side. So I'm going to add it another fabric to extend it to this edge. Now for the down part, I went ahead to add an extension to it. So by the time I place my pattern, which is the lining of the skirt, it will contain, you can see I've gotten exactly the length I want for the skirt. So the next thing I'll do is to go ahead and open it up. So guys, we have actually cut the A-line skirt with tail. Now to start sewing, first of all, I'm going to work with the back side, which is the part that has tail. I'll go ahead and remove the pin that I used to hold the parts that I joined together. So I'm going to separate them. By the time I separate it, I will now join the extension that I made. I'll join it from the under. For me to get it properly, I have to place it on the bridal satin to make sure that we got the exact length that we want. Then I'll go ahead and pin it to that side that I need to join. So by the time I place it, I've gotten the actual length. I'll go ahead to use my pin and hold it. So as I've joined it with my pin, what I will do now, I will remove it from the bridal satin. I'll go to my sewing machine now and top stitch. I'll top stitch on this line. I'll double stitch it. Then I'll show you the next thing I'll do. The same thing I do to this one, I'll still do to the second side. I'll place it on the main bridal satin, the fabric. I will use my pin to hold it and top stitch. After then, I'll show you the next thing I'll do. I've joined the two tails together. You can see. Now, the next stage is to sew it with my bridal satin. Now, the next thing to do now is to place my bridal satin. This is the wrong side. The right side is facing down, and the right side of the lace is facing to the wrong side of the bridal satin. I'll go ahead now and sew. I'll sew at this edge down to these two sides, but I will leave this waistline open. I'll go ahead and sew all the way round except this side. The same thing I'll do to the second one. So after then, I'll show you the next thing I'll do. Now I've sewn the two sides. I sewed it round, leaving the waistline open. The same thing to this second one. So I'll keep it aside. I'll first of all remove the pin and turn it to the right side. Then I'll pick the second one. Now this is the second one, which is the front. I'll do the same thing. I'll place the right side downward, and as well the right side of the lace should face the back of the satin. At this time, I'm not going to join it down this side. I'll just go ahead and sew only two sides, because I want this front side to be like this with the head like this. I don't want to join it, so I'll go ahead and join only the two sides. I'll sew through the two sides. After then, I'll show you the next thing I'll do. Now I've sewn the front side. This is the front, and I went ahead to turn it to the right side. As well, the two back pieces, I've turned it to the right side. You can see that. So the next step is to join them together. So before then, I will shift the front one aside, and I'll place the two back pieces together. Now I will join the two back pieces together, but before I do then, I'm going to top stitch on these two edges, including the front one. This time around, I'm top stitching only the front waistline and the two back waistline. I'm going to top stitch it. After then, I'll show you the next thing. I've actually top stitched the waistline, so I'll go ahead and put the two sides together. From the down part here, I will use 1 inch to join it. I'll use my pin to hold it together. Now I've pinned it through with my pin. I'll go ahead and mark for my zipper 9 inches. From these 9 inches here, then I'll use 1 inch from this place and join it through to the down part. I'm going to join it with 1 inch here. After then, I'll show you the next thing I'll do. Now I'll mark 9 inches here. From my 9 inches, remember I left 2.5 inches as my zip allowance. I've already used 1 inch, remember, of 1 inch, half inch for this side and half inch for this side in turning the lining, and it's 1 inch. So the remaining inches here is 1.5. So I'll go ahead and add and use 1.5 to the new side, to this point. From this point, I will then take it to 1 point. I'll just take 1.5 to this point here at this new side. 1.5, 1.5. Then at these down parts, I'll then take it by 1 inch, like so. So I use 1.5 here. From the new side here, I now take it by 1 inch. So I'll go ahead and sew through. After then, I'll show you the next thing. Now I've joined it. You can see. I'll go ahead and open it up. By the time I place the front one to it, you can see it's the same length, the same size. So I'll keep this aside now. Now the next thing is to sew the top of the dress we are making, and then start with my front side. I'll place it like so. I'll use my pin and hold it. The same thing to the second side. I'll go to my sewing machine now and sew through these edges. I'll make it straight. I don't want it to have any pointed at all. The same thing I'll do to the second side. Make sure the edges are aligned. Now I'll sew through the two lines. After then I'll show you the next thing I'll do. Now I've joined the two sides. I'll go ahead and trim off this excess part here. Now I've joined the bust here. If I set it, the shape have already come out very well. So I'll leave it aside as well. Now I'll be joining the lining the same way I joined the front side. I'll put my lining and place it the same way. Now I'll go to my sewing machine and sew through this line as well. After then I'll show you the next thing to do. Now I've joined the lining the same way I joined the main fabric. I'll bring the front pieces, then I will place the lining on top of the front side. I will make sure the same line are aligned. I'll place it together, holding it with my pin. Then I'll go ahead and sew through this neckline. If I want it to be more deep, I'll go ahead and maybe remove ½ inch from it. I'll place the same line together, and as well cut off just ½ inch. Just to deepen it. So I'll go ahead and sew through this line, the neckline, straight, and as well the two sides. I'm sewing with ½ inch. After then I'll show you the next thing I'll do. Now I've sewn through the neckline and the two sides. I'll go ahead and put a notch at the neckline. I've notched the neckline. I'll go ahead and turn it to the right side. After turning it to the right side, then I'll top stitch at the neckline only. I'll go ahead and top stitch. After then I'll show you the next thing I'll do. Now I've top stitched the upper side. This is the back of it, and this is the front. I will keep it aside. Now this is my back piece. The two back pieces, I will pick the lining and cover it like so. This back, I want to deepen the neckline. Remember, we are working with 3.5 inches, so I will deepen it by 1 inch. Then I'll go ahead and cut it off. Now at this point, I will open it up. I'll pick the lining and place it like so. Then I'll go ahead and sew from the neckline. I'll take 1/2 inch to this point. Then I'll take it straight to the zip line and I'll sew the two sides. Now, to avoid puffing at the back, my bust point is 11.5 inches. So this is 11.5 here. This is 11.5 here. At this point, I will come in by 1/2 inch just to avoid the puffing at the back. Then I have to take it from this point here at this upper point. I will curve it to this point where my bust point is. Then I'll take it back just to avoid the puffing at the back. Then I'll cut it off. Place it on the second one to do the same to it. At this point now, I will place my lining. Then at this point, I'll go to my sewing machine. I'll join through the neckline with 1/2 inch, the zipper line 1/2 inch, and the other side with 1/2 inch. After then, I'll show you the next thing I'll do. So guys, I've sewn it round, and remember I went down by 1 inch again from the neckline to deepen it. So I'll go ahead now. Before I turn it to the right side, I will place my darts. Already we have a mark here. For the darts, I have 7 inches here. Then from this point, remember this side is our zip allowance, and I have 4 inches. So from this point, I will then place my darts 1/2 inch from the right and 1/2 inch from the left. Then I'll go ahead and shape it out before I turn it to the right side. From this zip allowance, I marked 4 inches. Not from this point. I started from this point. This is 4 inches here and 4 inches here. Then I'll mark a straight line. This is my 7 inches here. So from this point now, I'll take 1/2 inch here, 1/2 inch here. Then I'll join it to get my dart. After then, I'll show you the next thing I'll do. Now I've sewn my dart at the back side. Then at the back of the skirt side, I will as well mark for my dart. 3.5 is for the dart, while 1.5 inches is for the zip allowance, so making it 5 inches. I'll go ahead and mark 5 inches here and 2 inches. I've already marked it. 5 inches from the waistline, 2.5 inches downward. So I'll go ahead and sew through this line and as well this other side. After then, I'll show you the next now. Now I've sewn my dart to the skirt side. I'll go ahead and place the upper side. The seam line should be the same place at the same place with the other seam line. So I'll go ahead and use my pin to hold it. The same thing to the other side, and I'll go ahead and join it at this waistline. After then I'll show you the next thing I'll do. I've already joined the waistline. The next thing I'll do is to go ahead and add my zipper. I'll pick the front side as well, then join it to the waistline. I'll fold it into two and notch the midpoint. The same way I will fold this into two and notch the midpoint. Now I'll place the midpoint together. I'll first of all top stitch on this edge. Then I'll go ahead and place the midpoint together. Midpoint to midpoint. I'll secure it with my pin, then join it together. After then I'll show you the next thing I'll do. Now I've inserted my zipper. I'll go ahead and join the two sides, both the front and the back, together and shape it. Using my body measurement. Now 39 is my bust line, divided into 2 will give me 19.5. This is 19.5 here, and I'm having extra 3.2 allowance. This is 3.2 inches, so I'll divide it into 2, then I'll mark. My waist measurement is 34. Divided into 2 will give me 17, and I have extra 1 inch. That means I'm taking it half inch on the two sides. I'll use my office pin to hold the two sides together. So I'll mark 17 inches. This 17 inches, and I have extra half inch. So I'll take half inch. Now for my hip measurement is 41 inches. Divided into 2 will give me 20.5. So this 20.5, I'm having extra 4.5 inches. So if I divide it into 2, I'm having 2.3 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark 2.3 inches. Then I'll shape it from this side up to the new side. Then at the new side, remember I remove 1.5 inches from my hip line. So 20.5, if I minus 1.5, it will give me 19 inches. So this is 19 inches here. I'll go ahead and divide it into 2. Okay, if I measure the extension, that is the extra allowance, I'm having 4 inches into 2 will give me 2 inches. So I'll mark 2 inches here as well. Then from this point now, I'll just take it by 1 inch to the downside up to this edge. This is the hemline, so I'll take 1 inch up to the hemline. After shaping this side, I'll then turn it over to mark the remaining one for this. Remember, if I divide it into 2 like this one, I'll get actual measurement. Then from there I will as well sew it, leaving the allowance, the same allowance I leave here, I will leave here. So I will do the same, the two sides, and I will show you the last thing to do. So guys, for this sleeve, you need an organza fabric. I'm using 1 yard of organza. So I'm using the sleeve for an off-shoulder dress. For the sleeve, I'm having 120.5 inches on fold, that is into two, will give me 41 inches. For the width, I'm using 12 inches, 41 inches by 12 inches. So I'll be folding it into two. I'm cutting the two sleeves together. Now this fabric is on fold, that is I folded it into two to achieve two sleeves together. Now for an off shoulder, my shoulder length from where my dress stopped to the sleeve side is 4 inches. On fold, remember times two of it will give me 8 inches. That is the round where the sleeve started from the front to where the sleeve will stop at the back. That is for an off shoulder. So it's 4 inches. Because I want it to have an elastic at the upper side, I will times it by 2, which is 8, and I'll still add extra 2 inches allowance. This for an off shoulder dress. So I'll go ahead and add extra 2 inches allowance, making it 10 inches on fold. That is 20 inches. If I should take all the length, remember I'm having 41 inches. So I'm having 10.2 inches because I'm adding elastic band to it. That's why I have to add, remember, it's supposed to be 4 inches. Then I'll go ahead and add joining allowance, which is 1 inch, making it 5. I just doubled it. Instead of that 5 inches, I made it times 2 of it, which is 10, and plus 2.5 inches, which is that remaining half inch that added the 41. 10 inches times 4 will give me 40 inches. Remember, then plus the half inch. So I want it to have a nice crunch look at the shoulder line. So that's why I'm having it 10.2 inch or 10.3. So now I'm using altogether 40.5 inches for the upper side. I'm okay with the length because I'll be folding it, because of the elastic, I'll be folding it like so by 1 inch. And I'll add extra 1 inch, which is the joining allowance. So my main sleeve length is 10 inches. So if I fold it up and remove as well, fold it with half inch for the joining of the lining. So I'm having 10.5 inches. That is the length of my sleeve, 10.5 plus half inch for the lining and 1 inch for the upper side, making it 12 inches for this. Then to get my round sleeve here, I'm not gonna just measure my actual round sleeve. I will measure the dress I made. Now this is the dress. I will measure this round sleeve here. What I'm having will determine what I will use and cut my sleeve. So I'm having this 13 inches. Now from what I measured from my dress, I will trace out the 6.5 inches. If I place my curve ruler like so, okay, it's at this point here to this point here. So I'll go ahead and mark and curve it out. So this for my armhole here. Now my round sleeve is 7 inches. This 7 inches here, I'll add 1.5 inches, half inch for my lining allowance and 1 inch for my main allowance, which is here. For the down part of my sleeve is 11 inches. Divided into 2 will give me 5.5 inches. I will go ahead and add extra 1.5 inches. Now, this is how my sleeve will come. I will just ignore because of the length. Remember, is extended. Because of this, I'm not going to concentrate on this. I'll focus on this point here at the down part. I just showed you to side. This is the upper side of the sleeve. So I'll concentrate on this down part. From this curve, I'll take it straight. Then I'll cut it out. So guys, after cutting, this is how to look. So I'll go ahead and cut a lining to it. So guys, I've actually cut the lining for it. I cut with the same fabric, rather satin. So the next thing I'll do now is to sew. I'll sew from this edge, leaving this place open. I'll sew at this place, this down, these two sides and the down part. I'll do the same thing to the second sleeve. After then, I'll show you the next thing I'll do. Now I've sewn the edges, leaving the armhole alone. The same thing to the second side. So I'll go ahead and turn it to the right side. Now I've turned it to the right side. I will keep it aside. This is 1 yard of organza. I will fold it into two, like so. For the two sleeves, I'll be using only 1 yard of organza. So I will divide it into two first. Now this one, I'll go ahead and fold it into four. I will as well divide it into four. Each of them, I'll be folding it into two like so to make a crunch on my sleeve. I'll divide it into four. So I'll go ahead and cut each of them out. For each sleeve, I'm having 4 of these. I'll be folding it into two to sew. So I'll do the same thing for the second sleeve. Now I've gotten 8 pieces of this. I'll then iron it out. I'll first of all iron my sleeve very well. The two sleeves, I'll iron it. Then each of these, I'll fold it into two like so, then iron. After then, I'll show you the next thing I'll do. Now I've ironed it, you can see, and the organza as well. So I'll go to my sewing machine now. Why I ironed it before sewing is to make it easier for me. I'll just turn it over to the other side and sew, so that by the time I turn it, it's already ironed. Okay, so I'll just go to my sewing machine and sew at this edge and turn it to the right side, so that by the time I sew through it, I'm going to plaint, just plating on the main sleeve. So I'll go to my sewing machine, each of them, I'll fold it. If you want, you can use your locking stitch and sew through it for it not to freeze. You can see how this edges is coming out. For it not to come out like that, you can use your locking stitch to sew through to top stitch, or you turn it to the other side and sew, so that by the time you finish sewing, you turn it to the right side. So I'm going to sew it now and show you the next thing to do. Now I've sewn it and I went ahead to turn it to the right side. So I'll go ahead and plaint it on my sleeve. Now I'll start from this line. I will leave 1/2 inch for my elastic band. Then I'll go ahead and sew. I'll plaint on this sleeve now with my organza. Now I've sewn on this upper side leaving half inch. I will go ahead and mark the rest. Put a straight line. This time around I'm leaving 1 inch. You can use 1 inch on or 1.5 inches depending on how you want it. So I'm having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines. The same thing I'll do to the second one. So guys, I'll go ahead and sew through these lines. So I've succeeded in printing on the sleeves, both of them. So the next thing I'll do, I'll add an elastic. I will need 6 inches of the elastic. I'll pass it through this upper side. I'll just measure out the 6 inches first. So you can make it 7 inches if you don't want it to be too tight. So I'll go ahead and pass it through this hole. So I'll secure this edge with my office pin and I'll go ahead and pull it through the casing. So when I'm done, this is how it will look. And see. After attaching my elastic, I will fold it into two like so. My round sleeve is 14 inches divided into 2 will give me 7 inches. That is from this upper side here. I will measure out 7 inches. I'll take it to this edge. Then at the down part, I will measure out. I don't want it to be tight. I'll go ahead and make it 6 inches. That is, I'll curve it like so. So I will sew through this line. The same thing I will do to the second sleeve. Mark my 7 inches and the down parts ½ inch. I'm removing. The down part is 6.5 unfold. So by the time I sew it, this is what I'll be having. So guys, I'll first of all top stitch on the elastic to make sure I secure it. Then I'll go ahead and join the sleeve, the two sleeves. After then will be to attach it to the main dress. So guys, I've sewn this sleeve I'll go ahead and attach it to the main body. So I'll open it up and the same line should face each other. I'll go ahead and pin it through before I sew it. By the time I use my pin to hold it, this is how it looks. So this is the back, while this is the front. So I'll go ahead and sew it using my sewing machine. I'll sew through it. Then I'll show you the picture of beautiful sleeve and the dress we made. So guys, after sewing, this is how the sleeve looks. Very, very beautiful. Can see the picture is very nice, so make sure you try it out. So guys, this is the beautiful dress we just made, the A-line dress with tail. Can see the down parts. You can make your own longer than this is the back and this is the front. I'll show you how to attach the 1440 degrees peplum that we made in our previous video. So if you have not watched it, I'll put the link at the description box. Make sure you watch how to achieve this beautiful peplum. This is a standing peplum with crinoline or horsehair. So guys, I'll show you how you can attach it to your dress to make it more beautiful. It's a beautiful peplum, or you can as well use this as a flounce. Anyway, whichever way you want. My waist measurement is 35 inches. So guys, I added extra inches because I needed it to be plinted, to be very beautiful and full. I have to plint this to my waist measurement. So the first thing I will do is to notch the midpoint of the peplum. So this is the midpoint here. I already have a seam line there. Remember, to achieve this, you have 4 different 365 degrees to achieve 1440 degrees peplum. That is 360 times 4. So guys, we already have our seam line here as our midpoint. Now, I'm going to go ahead and plint to my waist measurements. Watch me as I do that. I'll start from this because I don't want the middle of my dress to show the seam line. I'll go ahead and close it up like so. I'm plinting with a boss plint. is how it looks. My waist measurement is 34 because it has a zipper and is a dress, is not a blouse. So I'm not gonna cross it round the waistline. I will stop at the zipper side to cross it to other zipper side. So I printed it round. If I measure it now, I'm not going to get exactly 34 inches. I printed it with 30 inches, removing 4 inches. I will now get my dress and fix it. This is the dress. Now I'll be placing it like so, and I'm attaching it at the waistline, just half inch above waistline. That's where I will place it. I'm not gonna place it directly at this zipper line. I will shift by 2 inches. Then I'll go ahead and fix it to the dress direct. The right side of the peplon, I place it upward like so, because I'm going to sew through this edge. By the time I'm through sewing, I'll bring it down. I will go ahead and use my pin to fix it before I sew it. After using my pin to attach it, this is how it look. This is the front and this is the back. For the back, I made it a little closer to the zipper. Can see so that it will not be more obvious. So this is the back and this is the front. So I will go over to my sewing machine now and sew through the pin that I've made. After then, I'll show you the picture of the final look of this beautiful peplon. So guys, after making it, this is how the peplon looks. You can see how full it is. This is the front and this is the back. I folded it at the back because of the size of the mannequin. So guys, make sure you try it out. It's very simple and easy to make. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Click on the bell icon to be notified anytime I upload a new video. Give it a thumbs up, share to your friends, drop your comments, and bye till I see my next video.